Welcome to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast, the place for scrappy entrepreneurs who want to learn actionable steps and strategies to grow the traffic, sales, and profit in your e-commerce business. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Koster, a 20-year retail veteran and former brick-and-mortar boutique owner who spent 3 years as the only employee of a 7-figure online store. That shit was crazy. I know exactly how it feels to do all the things, and I'm sharing everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I may have started this business by accident, but supporting badass bosses like you lights me the fuck up, and I am so stoked to see you grow. Are you ready, babe? Let's roll. Welcome back to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Koster. Every year when the holiday season rolls around, there are always e-commerce business owners who ask me how they can simplify their Q4 marketing plan while staying as impactful as possible. I am a firm believer that you should go as all out in your marketing strategy as you possibly can during this time, even if it means you have to spend a bit of extra time working to get things prepared, because it is the biggest shopping season of the year. Some of the things I wouldn't necessarily skip are running a pre-launch campaign and building an early access list, creating an omni-channel marketing campaign, and of course, sending a whole bunch of emails. But I'm also a big believer in doing less to make more. In the case of your Q4 marketing campaign, I see it as not necessarily cutting things from your list or strategy, but optimizing how you execute them so it doesn't take as much effort or cause as much stress. So today I wanted to share a few tips and tricks and things to consider so that you can simplify your marketing strategy without sacrificing its success. When it comes to your Black Friday promotion, I encourage you to keep it as simple as possible. While I've talked about the different promotions you can run and the typical outcomes they have before, the majority of the time I would recommend either running a straight percentage off discount across your entire store or across a select number of items. For example, if you wanted to exclude your best sellers. The main reason for this is because it's easy to execute, it's easy to market, and it's easy for your customers to understand. While I love a good buy more, save more because it encourages people to spend more and can cushion your margin, it can be confusing and lead to more customer service issues. That's not to say any discount that isn't a straight discount is inherently bad and you shouldn't do them. Like, seriously, I love a good buy more, save more. But if your goal right now is to keep things simple, then a straight flat discount is likely going to be a better choice for you. The other thing I recommend when it comes to promotions is carrying the same promotion through to Cyber Monday. While there is an argument to be made for offering something different to reignite your customer base and get them to pay attention again or potentially bring them back for another purchase, it too can cause customer service issues or just be confusing. Plus, you have to worry about updating your website. Maybe you have to change out a banner, for example. You have the confusion of time zones. It's also why I don't generally recommend 12 days of Christmas sales or anything like that. Again, not inherently bad, but often more work than it's worth, and you don't really get the return to justify all that extra effort. Now, when it comes to actually marketing these promotions, one of the most important things you'll need to do is to make sure you update your website so it reflects whatever it is you're promoting, right? That's why you could kind of run into trouble when you're switching between days and that sort of thing. So this might look like updating the banner on your homepage, putting a banner across your collection pages, or maybe just using a pop-up from your email service provider. However you decide to promote your sale on your site, I recommend automating it so that you don't have to worry about making changes at random times of the night or causing confusion because you took the banner down too late and people didn't understand why their discount code wasn't working. And there are a few different ways you can go about this. If you're on Shopify Plus, you can use the Launchpad app to publish a new version of your theme. So you'd essentially have your existing live theme, right, which is without all of your promotions. Then you set up a new version of your theme that does have the updated banners and things. That theme will go live when the promo goes live. And then you'd have to set up a second schedule to replace the sale version. Again, that's only for Shopify Plus. There are also apps that will let you show or hide a banner section by setting a start and end time. This is one of my favorite features of the Design Packs app. I'll stick my affiliate link in the show notes for you. So for example, on your homepage, if you want to show a different hero banner, you'd set up one to appear before that sale goes into effect, and then it would be hidden once the sale is live. Then you have a second banner that appears when your sale starts and is hidden when the sale ends. And then you'd have a third banner that appears when the sale is over. Now, if you just had a banner somewhere else on your homepage, you wouldn't necessarily need to replace it. But if you're talking about your hero banner, you obviously need that non-promotional default there. Otherwise, your site's going to look weird. If you want to have a banner across your entire website, maybe you put it where your announcement bar is, for example, or you just want to put a banner in your Black Friday collection, then you would just have to schedule it during your active times and you wouldn't have to worry about the before and after. If you didn't want to use the Design Packs app, or you wanted more show hide options than the Design Packs app gives you, because I think it's just one version of a banner that has that time on it, if you're so inclined, you could also hire a developer to create a section like this for you. I had someone do it for me at my previous day job, and you could probably find someone on StoreTasker or Hey Carson for one-off small development jobs like that. You could actually do this as well with a combination of Meta Objects, Meta Fields, and the Shopify Flow app. I hadn't really thought about that until right now. It's definitely a bit cumbersome initially, but could be a pretty cool setup overall and potentially allow you to eliminate paid apps in the future if you are using them for promotional banners on your store. So I can't explain every last detail of how to set that up here. You're going to have to do a little bit of research on the tech side if you're interested. I do plan on updating my Shopify course with some Shopify Flow how-tos and more details on Meta Fields and Meta Objects, and I'll probably end up releasing that as a separate product in case you don't need the whole course. But honestly, it's just going to be a bit before I can get that done. So in the meantime, let me give you a quick rundown of how this would work. One more note before I get into that is using the strategy for the homepage might prove difficult. You can access market meta fields on the homepage, but it doesn't look like you can update them with Shopify Flow. I tried to do a quick and dirty setup to see if I could do it with company meta fields, but the implementation with Flow is a little bit more advanced. And for the purposes of this episode, I just couldn't get that deep into the research of it. But let me walk through it because you could easily use this on your collection pages, for example. So first, you're going to create a meta object, and the meta object is going to have multiple different entries, which would be your different promo banners. Now, when you're creating a meta object, you could create it so it just has one image field if you wanted to just upload an entire finished banner as an image, or you could add multiple fields that match an existing section you have in your theme. So maybe you want to use your existing image banner that has text overlaying it. So that meta object would have an image field, a heading field, and a text field, and then you would just assign that to the section. There are other ways you could do this, but for the most part, you just want it to match some specific section that already exists in your theme. Then you're going to create a meta field that references that meta object where you want it to appear. That could be on your collection template, your product template, etc. So let's say you have a Black Friday collection and you want to put a promotional banner there that shows and hides based on your promo period for Black Friday weekend. So you would have the meta object. That's where you would put an entry with your banner. Then you have your collection meta field. You go to your Black Friday collection and you choose the entry from that meta object. Then on your collection template in your theme customizer, you add the section that you want to use, in this case, your image banner, and then you're just going to assign the fields from the meta field. So if the consumer is on a collection that has a value in that meta field, that banner will appear on the collection. If the collection doesn't have a value in the meta field, the banner will not show. You also need to just make sure your theme is set to only show a section if that meta field has a value in it. Then the magic happens when you use the Shopify Flow app, which is just a free automation tool. This will allow you to assign and then remove a value to the meta field. So you set the flow at a scheduled time, it adds the value. Then you set another flow at a scheduled time to remove the value. Again, unfortunately, it's not quite as straightforward for your homepage updates, but you could pair this strategy with a standard time banner that you either use the Design Packs app for or get custom coded. And that would give you a ton of flexibility on your website. And I especially like this strategy because it essentially lets you time almost any section layout across your site. So if you go with the Design Packs app or a custom coded section that a developer creates for you, right? You're limited to that one section. For example, a banner with text over it. If you use the meta object, meta field, and flow option, you can create that meta object definition to match the section or sections you want, because the meta object allows you to use multiple different types of fields. So if you have a section with side-by-side images, for example, right? So it's two images, one on the left, one on the right. It has text over it and a button with a link. Then when you create the meta object definition, you create the field for image 1, the field for image 2, the field for heading 1, the field for heading 2, the field for button 1, the field for button 2. So when you add that side-by-side section to a collection, for example, you can then assign which field goes to which portion of the banner. I know this is a little bit hard to explain over a podcast versus showing you in a video, so I hope that you're following. As I said, I literally came up with this idea as I was preparing this episode, and I just did a few quick tests to confirm my theory, and I wanted to make sure that I talked about it. I will say, if this is all sounding brand new to you and it's sounding a little bit like gibberish, maybe you're not going to be able to implement this right now. But if you are already comfortable with meta objects, meta fields, Shopify Flow, and how Shopify themes work and that sort of thing, then this could be a really cool way to automate some more content on your website. Another really easy way to do this is if you're using Klaviyo, for example, for email, you can schedule forms and use them for promo purposes, because Klaviyo will allow you to remove the email field, the first name field, and you just put the promo content on it. I wouldn't necessarily do it as a pop-up. I would do it as a slide out. And then you can just say, hey, Black Friday, 20% off, and link them over to the collection where all of your sale items are. There are probably other form apps or other email platforms that allow you to do this. I did double check, and unfortunately, the Shopify Forms app, which is what you're using if you're using Shopify's email, you can't remove the email field, so it wouldn't work for this promotional purpose. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, I think it's really important that you run an omni-channel marketing campaign, which means being active on social media. And when it comes to social media, one of the biggest struggles people have is staying consistent, myself included, as you probably know. But in most cases, the root cause of this is overthinking the content, feeling like you have to reinvent the wheel every time, and thinking that if you said something once, you can't say it again. The truth is, repetition is your friend in marketing. And because social posts have such a short shelf life, you can absolutely stick to a few key messages that you repeat over and over throughout the season and just change the format you use to convey those ideas. I actually have a workshop on content repurposing in Content Badassery. It's a mini course I offer. I'll stick a link in the show notes for you. But here's a general way that you can apply this. Let's say you have a gift guide with 5 categories and each has 5 products in it. you can use that same gift guide to generate multiple different posts for social media. For example, a single static post that promotes the gift guide as a whole. Just, hey, I have this gift guide. There's one post. You can do a carousel post that shares all the categories included in the gift guide. So one post with 5 slides. Then you can do a carousel post for each individual gift guide. So that's 5 posts, each with 5 slides. Then you can do a video where you feature the best seller from each category, 5 more posts, and a video where you share all of the items for each gift guide, 5 more posts. You get the idea, right? So you just want to take the general focus of your marketing campaign and present it in different ways so it feels fresh. But don't worry about repeating yourself. You need to repeat yourself. People need to see things multiple times before they take action. And your content is going to get buried in the feed pretty quickly. Speaking of repurposing, the next way to simplify your marketing strategy this year is to reuse your emails from previous years. Yes, literally reuse your emails. One of my lounge members is really short on time this year due to some conflicting obligations. She's essentially running the same promo as she did last year and for the most part promoting the same products. She has a handful of items that she only brings in during a holiday time, and they're always a big hit for her. She asked how it would look if she reused her emails. My answer, it's been a year and it's unlikely anyone will notice. Sure, go in and update some subject lines, maybe change out the products you're featuring if you need to, or make any other minor adjustments based on what the data told you, but otherwise just reuse them. No need to start from scratch. And then last, but certainly not least, is to schedule everything in advance. While it might initially feel like a lot of work up front to create all the banners, create all the emails, create all the social posts, to do all of that ahead of time, it's going to feel like a lot because it is. But having all of that created and scheduled means during the actual selling season, you can just focus on getting the orders out the door and spending time with your family. Sure, you might have to go in and tweak something later. Maybe something changed. Maybe you sold out of something faster than you expected, and so you have to swap out an email or a social post, right? But making that one little switch is easier than trying to keep up with getting everything out as you go. And I know this so to be true, that when an e-commerce entrepreneur is stressed out, behind the ball, the first things to drop off are email and social. And those are probably 2 of the most important things you're going to do to get people to your website. So please take the time, like I said at the beginning, even if you have to put in a few extra hours before the season starts to get this set up, it's so worth it. From a tech perspective, doing this is super simple. Of course, every email platform allows you to schedule campaign emails in advance. You just want to make sure recipients are determined at send time, so the segment you send to is updated. The other thing too, when it comes to emails during big promotions, someone always asks if it's possible to do this through an automation. And while in some limited circumstances the answer is yes, the truth is, the general workarounds you need to make it work isn't worth the extra effort. It's just as easy, if not easier, to set everything up as an individual campaign, and then you use inclusion and exclusion segments to make sure you're hitting the right people. So don't be trying to do your Black Friday emails through an automation. Not worth the trouble. For social media, there are a ton of schedulers out there, but you can just use the Meta Business Manager Planner. It allows you to adjust content for Facebook and Instagram so it matches the platform. You can also schedule reels and stories, and it gives you like all of the different settings. You can add the music. It's super flexible and totally free. At the end of the day, I don't want you to skimp on your efforts this holiday season, but I do want you to simplify things wherever possible. Hopefully, you'll learn something from this episode that can help you do that. Again, it's really more about doing things in advance and optimizing what you're doing versus, changing banners out at 11:59 p.m., which I can promise you I have done before, and it's no fun. But of course, this is just one tiny part of getting your Q4 marketing in place. So make sure you check the show notes for additional Q4 episodes and resources to help you kick ass this holiday season. And that, my friends, is a wrap. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I so appreciate it. And I'll see you on the flip side, friend. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about growing your e-commerce business, get started with my free resource library at ecommercebadassery.com/free stuff and get an invite to the Lounge, my e-commerce marketing membership. When you're ready for one-on-one support, apply to work with me at ecommercebadassery.com/apply. Before you go, would you do me a quick favor? Leave a rating and review and tap that follow button. This pushes me up the chart so I can support more scrappy e-commerce entrepreneurs just like you. I'm on a mission to reach as many as I can, and I could really use your help. Thanks so much in advance. Until next time, e-commerce friend, stay badass.